Web services allow you to create classes in one application and then use those classes from another application over the internet, over HTTP. So it's a very powerful thing, and PHP 5 has SOAP support in it. The only problem is the SOAP in PHP 5 does not create a WSDL file, which is very useful and makes web services much easier to consume with your applications. So for that reason, I'm going to show you how to make web services with a library called NuSOAP. First, we have to get NuSOAP. Just type NuSOAP, download, for instance, source, ForgeNet, NuSOAP, download NuSOAP, download the latest, download NuSOAP, and save to disk. Okay. So basically you'll get it somewhere and then say, let's see here, so we can see it, 7-zip, extract files. And you want to extract it to your web directory. Since we installed XAMPP Lite, we have everything under XAMPP Lite, under C, htdocs, and then webs, and then test. So here I'm going to make a new folder, call it NuSOAP, and say OK. OK, super. Now, let me go in here to my web directory, test. So I am in where we just put this in, XAMPP Lite, htdocs, webs, test, and there's NuSOAP. So go into NuSOAP, go into the library file, do a Control-A, copy everything up into NuSOAP, basically. So now what we want to do is, since when you install XAMPP Lite, SOAP or PHP 5 SOAP is enabled by default, we need to disable that or we're going to run into problems. So let's do that right now. Problems that we would run into if we didn't do this is the SOAP classes are named the same, and so you would have a conflict. You need to change an entry in your php.ini file, and that's under XAMPP Lite Apache bin. php.ini, search for SOAP. There it is. Turn it off with a semicolon in front. Save. Then you have to restart Apache and PHP, click on XAMPP Lite, and double-click on XAMPP Restart. You'll get a window, it says restarting, wait a couple seconds, and then don't close the window, just make it small here. Minimize. And now NuSOAP is ready to go, so let's make a web service. So the web service that we're going to make is, we'll simply add two numbers. So add a new PHP file, we'll call it math service. And how is this going to look? Well, it's just a lot of syntax, so follow along, please. First of all, we need to load in our NuSOAP class. Require ones, NuSOAP, that's where we put it. And it's called NuSOAP PHP. You can see this file under here. Let me do F5 to refresh, so we have NuSOAP. And then under here, there is actually a NuSOAP.php and your classes in there. So let's make a new SOAP server. We'll call it SOAP equals new SOAP server. Okay, SOAP configure WSDL. Call it math service. And type in a URL that you own here so that it's unique. And then SOAP WSDL schema target namespace. You need a namespace. Interop standard or XSD. There we go. Now we need to register our web service, and here's how we do it. Actually, register our web service method. Register, okay, and let's call it. So at the end, we're going to have this. We're going to have a multi-line command here. Add, and then add is going to be the name of our method. It accepts an array A, which is an integer. Now, after we get done with this, we're going to have to create the function which actually performs the addition. The function is going to be called add. So let's go ahead and put this all in one line here so it looks nice. And then we have SOAP interop is fine for the example. So there we have the registration of our method called add, which is going to add numbers. So then we just need to say SOAP service and check if raw post data is set. If so, send it. If not, just send. Define it as blank. And now we just need to make our function. Add, that's the easy part. It's going to add 2 numbers, is all. So we can make sure that if it does not equal null and B does not equal null and trim of A does not equal empty, that means if there, as long as there's something in it, and the same with B. So basically, there has to be something in A and B. Then return A plus B. That's the service. Else, return, and here you can send a fault, SOAP fault, so you can catch it. Client, invalid parameter, for instance. Okay, so we have all that done. That is our web service. We can actually look at our web service without instantiating it. All localhost, webs test, our math service.php. Go ahead and just run that one. You must provide an array for the operation outputs. Okay. Okay, the problem is here is that we forgot to add this. The output should be here. And that should be some XSD, and that should also be an integer like that. So now we have what the parameter should be, what the return variable is going to be. Now that should work here. Let's go back. Math service, and here we have it. Math service, view the WSDL. This is very nice. This is what you would have to make by hand if you were using PHP 5 SOAP, or find some other way to create it. But this is done automatically for us by NuSOAP, which is very nice. Now, let's consume this web service with code. So we will make a new page here under test. Hello. Let's go back here. Test, new PHP file. Let's call it use math. Okay. Now, we also have to require once, include the NuSOAP PHP. Okay. And now this is relatively easy compared to building the service. SOAP equals new SOAP client. And we have to basically just give it this. The WSDL URL. So let's give it that. True, and create a proxy. Get proxy. So now that we have our proxy, we can call our method. The sum that we want is the result of proxy. Now add is our method. Let's add 4 to 6. And echo the sum is sum. So if it returns 10, we know that our web service works. Let's go to use math. And it does say 10. So we know the computer can add and that our web service works. If you are using, for instance, in a project, if you're using the PHP 5 SOAP and you need to make the WSDL, one trick is to actually use NuSOAP, let's say on another server, create the or let NuSOAP generate the WSDL for you, and then just copy that into a file and use it with the PHP 5 SOAP. That's a trick that allows you to use the SOAP that comes with PHP 5. But if all you need to do is to create a web service in your PHP application that can be read by, for instance, Java applications or .NET applications, I think the easiest way is to still use NuSOAP.